All right, so this is Ganya on the road again, and here we are back at the Shannon with Diane Gregory, and we had a little chat about it, and what we're going to do is we're going to go down the rabbit hole of how we both got where we are now, with our spiritual work. Because we both often get asked when we're at festivals and markets and everything, how did we get into what we do? When did we get into spirituality? Blah, blah, blah. So what we're going to do, we thought we'd do, is we're going to throw questions at each other, questions that maybe you might ask us, that come into our head. So, get yourself comfy. No visuals this time. I'm not very good at visuals, obviously. It's not my story, So here's an audio one for you. So get comfy, make a cuppa, push pause, go make a cuppa, and lay back and enjoy the show. All right, Di.
We don't know where this is going, by the way, so, it's going to be natural for you.
Let's start with Di. How did you, what got you to where you are today? What significant turning point did you have that brought you into spirituality?
I don't know, there was a turning point, maybe birth, because that's the soul knew. So, and I know I'm going to refer to myself in the third person, but if you were asking me, is it the three-dimensional me here talking to you or the higher self, I would have to say the higher self always steps in when there needs to be clarity, when there needs to be no taintedness from emotion when you're telling somebody a story. So it does come from the higher self.
Yeah.
But fairly aware as a child, came in pretty switched on, saw stuff differently to other people.
Yeah.
Felt differently.
How did you know that you were seeing it different from other people?
I didn't. For a long time, that was the problem.
Right.
I thought everybody thought the way I thought, saw things the way I saw it.
Yeah.
And that was the major barrier that I had.
Right.
Was if I'd had the 4 agreements when I was younger, I would have stepped back from it and seen it a lot clearer.
Right. And just briefly say what the 4 agreements are for those that don't know.
The first, they were a Toltec mind philosophy from an elder that went to just a soul that went into a cave and came out with a different awareness of how we view life and how to walk through life. And then he tells the story of how they, he came out and he saw the stars differently and realised that we are the stars. And it's a really lovely story, but the first agreement is to be impeccable with your word.
Be impeccable with your word.
Which is the hardest.
True. Yeah, I know that.
for a lot of people, the hardest. And it was sort of such a gift, the 4 agreements, when it came to me, because the second one is don't take things personally. And when I was young, I did, extremely. And I don't think there's too many people out there that didn't when they were young.
Yeah.
But, it's not about you. When you learn the reflection thing and the projection thing, then you realise what's not being said to you is not your stuff.
Yeah.
It is for you to learn from, for sure. But that's what's here, what's going on.
I like to, in a situation, I like to feel into it and feel there's an emotional connection. And if in that sensation there's no emotional connection, then I pretty well leave it because I figure it's got nothing in it for me. Whereas when I get a strong reaction emotionally, then it's like, so it might be taking it personally, and then I go, right, there's something here, there's something for me to unpack here.
Definitely. Yeah. And if we could view life as we're going along with every situation from day dot, we'd be cruising. But it takes us time to get back to that comprehension that, everything is moment to moment and how we're walking through it. And I've always thought if I'm walking through with every intention, every step, consciously aware, every moment of my life experience, even in my dreams, that I'm actually one step ahead in this respect. I'm walking conscious thought.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if I say something, will it cause a reaction? Am I meant to say it too?
What's the feeling here? Yeah. Where's the flow going?
Yeah. And I feel it well up within me, this need to say things to people sometimes, however shocking, but always truthful.
That's right.
And, I can be to the truth sometimes when needed to step up to that. So, just making sure that I don't react within myself as well, because I'm still dealing with all these emotions.
Sure.
You can be in higher consciousness all your life. It doesn't mean you're not affected by stuff happening to you or around you.
Yeah.
So there's no judgment here. Third agreement.
Third agreement
is don't make assumptions. My favourite.
Nicely played on.
My favourite
is not to make it. And I found that one out of doing all the lessons I've done each. Like I tend to ask Great Spirit New Year's Eve, what's my teachings for the year? What do you want us to do for Ganya, and what's the teachings?
Nice.
For me to learn. And often, one year they gave me the judgment one. And wow, when you get into the details of it, it is near impossible to live without judging in this dualistic human vessel.
It's not impossible.
I'm just saying it was near impossible at that moment in time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you build to it, you ask yourself when something happens and you feel an emotion, are you being judgmental?
Yeah.
Because that's part of the don't make assumptions, stepping back, not being judgment, just getting into, a higher frequency of observation, with other people. Because it's not for me to look at every soul out there is part of the puzzle piece and they're doing their role. So if there's someone that is a really heavy drug user and in jail and out of jail and that sort of stuff, it's not an energy that I like. But some other soul is choosing to have that experience, so the higher consciousness expands, and I then, in a sense, don't have to do that experience. That's right. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, great.
So there is a soul story. I think I told you the story of when my dad died, and I talked to him. I always find that spirits come to me when I'm on the toilet. Who knows why?
Yes.
For those spirits listening, choose a better place.
No, I
you don't mind it?
Yeah, no, it happens to me a lot because you're over water and you're a conduit.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, my dad came to me on the toilet, and I'd looked at his astrology and numerology over the years, and it was very highly spiritual path that he had the potential to follow, for the blueprint that he had written for himself. And I said to him, I said, why did you do what you do? You're in jail a lot, you're womanizing, you're alcoholic, gamblerholic, any of those aholics really. I said, why do you live like that? Because watching him, it seems he did it such a hard way, and he said, because that's the experience I came to have.
It's the one he needed.
And so then I went the next layer and looked at his life, and sure enough, he was still a great spirit. He'd be in jail, but he'd be looking out for the people in jail. Nice. He'd be on his boat, but he was looking out for those other people that didn't have anyone to look out for them. So he did do it, but it was another layer. Yeah. And when we take judgment away, it's just another layer.
It is. It's brilliant. When you can get out of judgment and into observation and just observe it and say, well, where's the bigger picture? I'd like to learn it. And Spirit will just dump it in front of you. It's like, thank you. I'm always going, thank you, universe, because brilliant things happen.
Oh,
when you open doorways to just being the observer per se, your life becomes easier because you're living in the moment rather than, and it is being, honestly, the two words, conscious awareness, every step. That's really how we need to live life, consciously aware every step.
And the astrology is in line with that right now, with this move into the Aquarian field, of energy and such pertinent planets in Aquarius. It's just like, it's easy to be more objective, more observable, more momentary, less structure of the old and looking towards the new. And how about the fourth agreement?
The fourth agreement is always do your best, given that your best is less when you're sick or unwell and you've been busy for a week and a half and your best is I want to lay down today. If that's the best you can do and you get up and go to the toilet, have a shower and cook yourself something to eat, then great.
So it's like the best for you.
Yeah, well, no picking on yourself because there's the whole process that, for instance, when I was really sick, that I really just needed to sleep and I knew it. And I used the 4 agreements. I didn't pick on myself. And I just went,
nice.
No, good girl, well, if you get that done, that's great. But if you don't, it's not a biggie.
Best for you. Isn't it? It's what's best for you at that moment in time.
What was best for me was rest and inner thought and meditation and stuff. So that's the best. But when you put them all together and you live a lifestyle like that, I find it just extremely, I've been doing the 4 agreements for 11 years now. And living it. I think I'd listened to it. I actually know it word for word, so I tend to OD on things to make sure I got it really well within my psyche.
Sure.
It's my mantra. I've just mantraed it into my brain, It's there. And I use that very much for finding a clear path to consciousness and more connection to spirit because I've been living in, this is happening, this is interesting. I wonder what this is asking me to do. And always looking behind the reason. And if I didn't find it, I would just keep looking or asking, let it be shown to me. And I always get the answer to why I'm having that experience. And so I thought, well, I need to take control of my experiences, Okay, he's living this life. Are you letting things around you take you on a wave because you want to follow spirit, or do you want to just say, well, this is what I need for me, but also be guided by spirit in that process?
Yeah, I had that paradox happen in that Great Spirit gave me maybe 2-3 years ago. The lesson I had to do that year was to lift my foot and then see where it went.
Yeah.
And so being a Virgonian with many planets in Virgo, that was very, that was quite challenging, for in each moment when I was ready to make the decision, to stop and then wait for that extra second or two. Yeah. And then the difference it made was absolutely incredible.
If you think of it in motion, is if the horse is running, they've got to keep their steps. If they lose concentration and they're not focusing where they're going, they lose their rhythm and they can fall. So, same with walking through life.
It's a bit like the Romanian gypsies. They do it as well. By lifting your foot, yes, you are out of balance. But if you're in total knowing of who you are, you're in full balance, like the horse is in full balance. And so they and us when we walk, we can feel where we are.
Well, just looking. I've always found that fossicking is really good for this because it makes you look.
Yeah.
Really around. At what you're seeing.
Yeah.
And so in awareness, it's looking at everything and snapshotting. Dun, 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 dun. Oh, yeah, I get it. I can see. And anything that comes out in pictures or whatever you see that go, yeah, that's that. Oh, sometimes I'll see something and I go, wow, that was interesting.
Yeah. Well, we touched on yesterday when we were chatting, we touched on psychedelics and their role in our shamanic journey spiritually. Anyone that's still in judgment of psychedelics, do your own research. It's, I can speak for myself. I was there. I was in judgment of them. But I've done a lot of research into them, both experientially and, studying the research that others have done. And they're quite phenomenal tools for spiritual journeys. Absolutely incredible. With DMT, where I sit on the fence is that without doing the exercises for your pineal gland, I do question whether it lessens your strength when you move into the other world. Having worked with souls moving into other plane, I've found that people who are working with meditation and really authentically and really raising their vibration, they seem to pass through quite easily. But the ones, it's like birth of a baby. You want the mother in the best conditions they can be. The birth of the soul back into spirit needs to be in the conditions. So I do question DMT if you're not doing pineal gland exercises. If you're doing pineal gland exercises, I feel that you can maintain the strength.
Yeah, well, when I was in Peru, a lot of young people were doing ayahuasca. And, I prepped for weeks before I did ayahuasca.
Yeah. What sorts of things would you do to prep?
I was doing meditation and then I asked Spirit that, that it helped me see what I needed to see on this journey and that, I would be in line and acceptance of everything and take it all on board. And, as I need to know, because I know that Spirit gives you things as you need to know, not necessarily what you want to know, which is like whatever. I succumb to whatever because I realise that, keep that connection. I absolutely have faith in Spirit. I just do.
Yes.
And that's the whole thing. Pure faith is what you need.
And so back to the ayahuasca.
Yeah, anyway, a lot of young people did this. They did... they do it because they thought it was a party drug and they go, I did my head in because they weren't ready. No. They didn't set an intention. They didn't go in there to become one with the ayahuasca. They saw, I'm going to use it. It's not a party drug.
No.
It's DMT, the spirit molecule, and it is. You can do it. I would suggest if you want to do ayahuasca, then do DMT crystal, at first.
Yeah.
Or changa, that's even milder. So you go into it
Isn't changa a bit dirtier though?
Yeah, it has a lot of flowers and potions and white lotus and stuff in it. And
I mean, there's some psychedelic researchers out there that say that you should just stick to the plant-based psychedelics because once you're getting into the synthetics nowadays, you've got to know the chemist who's made it to know the authenticity of the crystals, to not put more crap into your body.
Yeah, exactly.
Because there is a story out there that you hear quite often is that you can be invaded by entities when you're on certain drugs and alcohol.
Definitely.
And so given that, and synthetics are hard to monitor nowadays because they're so accessible, you do question
Yeah,
you know,
definitely.
whether they are worthy of even
But I also
exploring.
think another thing is that, you're setting intention, but you're also putting protection. You're doing something big here. You're asking to go into another dimension, experience, whatever you want to call it, and be guided on the way.
That's right.
And the DMT is very much of the earth. So, it's getting in touch with Mother and, saying, Mother, protect me on the journey with you. And I mean, Mother will anyway.
Yeah.
And I think that if people take on entities, I think they choose that. True. I think they open that doorway because they have not put up protection, or something in their higher self needs to experience that and break free from that or be succumb by it.
Yeah, I've got a theory with entities. I've never really gelled with the entity story, and what I've found is that I feel that when certain triggers occur in a person, it brings out a flavour of who they could potentially be.
Yeah.
And potentially that's one of the role players in the soul group they're in. I was listening to Veritas Radio, I was mentioning to you, the last one they did, Mel Fabricus, he's under his mum's maiden name now because of the bloody, all that stuff. Yeah. But anyway, this guy was saying that we're in soul groups, and as we go through each frequency, each dimension, whichever way you want to measure it, your soul group together experientially becomes into its next layer accordingly to everyone that's in that group.
Yes.
So given this entity story, I see it as another part of my soul group that, it's not my flavour I'm here for, but at moments in my life I have a taste of it. Yeah. Just to remind me of all the different flavours of who I am, to connect it. It's like a connection point.
It's like the Hookham and Diamond that we have, right? It's such an interesting, its clarity is like the diamond on the outside, but inside a lot of them is a black bit.
That's right.
The dark seed within us, but it's encased in the light. And we need that. It's like that whole thing I was saying to you. Everyone looks at that energy on the planet that's doing, according to them, negative stuff, and they're not looking at it from the right perception. Is this, the dark energy comes in and it does all this stuff, and if without that, would we just be plodding along, or does the dark stuff go, well, let's help you through to a higher dimension, and by us experiencing, from stepping back in non-judgment, well, what are they doing? What are they triggering within humanity? A rising consciousness. Thank you, dark stuff. Because that wouldn't happen if it wasn't, they weren't there. And the minute you thank them, they dislike that. So it gives them less power.
Yeah.
It's about disabling them. They love fear. Well, don't get into fear. Let's not empower them.
Yeah.
It's the whole process. What do we choose to do? We can look at it all darkness, and that feeds it more because it's happy that you're a little bit fearful of it.
Yeah, it's like a good friend of ours says, your energy goes where you put your energy.
Yeah.
So where would you like to put the energy?
Yeah.
There's, what's his name? I think Paul Levy. He talks about the reality of the mind and the hologram and I can't remember if it's him, so check for yourself. But where whatever we view through our own experience is what's created in front of us.
Yes.
Making us the supreme creator.
Exactly.
Which is what the Bible backs up, saying that we are made in the way of God or whatever it is. Sorry to these Christians, I haven't got the right terminology.
Yeah.
But quite fascinating.
Yeah. They're creator God, but God means gathering of deities anyway. So you're not singling it out.
Yeah.
It's just term.
Yeah. So getting back to your story, and so you didn't know you were different. You discovered you were different.
It took me a long time, and as the soul comes in stages, really young, before 7, realizing there's something majorly wrong with this realm, very aware of that, and that didn't fit in, and I didn't want to be here. So, and then up until my teens, I cried nearly every day, asking God if there was a God, even though I grew up in an atheist home, can you take me out? I don't want to be here.
Yeah,
I was very serious.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was not comfortable.
Yeah.
So, and then I sort of, I think I was about 12 and I watched a movie, Jason and the Argonauts. I don't know, it's a mythology anyway. It got me right into mythology. I started looking into the stories of mythology, and that was something that started to fascinate me.
Yeah.
But my earliest recollection of spirituality, I was about 6 or 7, and I realised I'd been here before. And I went, okay, righto, I've done this. and then it just opened my mind to everything.
Right.
I think I just opened a doorway to me going, yeah, I knew I'd been here before, and I was like, oh, okay, why am I back here?
Yeah.
You know, I wondered even at that age, was it through astrology? You know, through the signs, do we have to work through all the signs to get,
okay.
you know,
oh,
to
so
the
you were an
end?
astrologer in your past life?
Oh, yeah, I've done astrology. I was more a numerologist in a past life, but definitely was dabbling with both in several lifetimes.
Yeah, right.
You know, aware.
And going to astrology and a numerology, what brought your interest in that direction apart from what you're saying now? Like, when did you first start working with it?
Well, I always saw numbers. I was actually, maths fascinated me even as a child. Not necessarily numerology, but math fascinated me. You know, the way the numbers could work. You know, so you see certain sequences to make certain sequences. And part of me, I didn't really think that numbers had a resonance, but I knew there was a certain energy with them. And I couldn't explain it at a very young age, but I was always drawn into it. But my first sort of journey was through mythology, through the tarot.
Right.
My entry was in through the tarot.
Okay.
My mother bought me a set of tarot. I was 23, and as a present, and because I had read Who's Who in Mythology, and I loved this book that I've got, because I got that at like 16.
By Alexander Murray.
Yeah.
Alexander S. Murray.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it's more about the lineage of the family. It's like a birth chronicle for Who's in Mythology.
Okay.
So that you can look and see, you can look your name up, for instance, and see who it's pertaining to. It's in the back. You can look up your name.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so mythology, so when I got in tarot, it was like, oh, mythology, wow.
Yeah.
You know, it's like I knew the stories, but I also jumped into the cards every night. I'd take a different card every night, and I'd see what was not in there. I'd read what the book said about the card, and then I would sojourn through the card. So I got really bonded with my first tarot, 78.
Which one was your first pack?
Mythic.
Oh, okay, Mythic.
Yeah, beautiful deck.
Interesting. Yep.
Beautiful deck. And I was very much into the Celtic Cross because it resonated with me because I'm English and Cornish. So that really resonated, and I went, yeah, I'm happy to do that spread. But over the years, I do whatever spirit tells me.
Yeah.
But I normally do that spread, and if someone says they don't want that spread, I'll do something else. And I'll say, or they allow me to play, and spirit would like that, because I just feel like I'm so guided through it.
Yeah.
But, it also being, I'm triple water, as you know, it's natural for me.
So explain about triple water for those that don't know what that means.
Well, we have elements in astrology. We've got earth, fire, air, and water, and they all, govern a certain aspect of being. Water is, emotion, and it's feeling and it's sensation. So in astrology, if you have a lot of water in your chart, you're generally intuitive, naturally intuitive, because things flow. Stuff flows with water.
Yeah. And so triple?
Well, I'm my rising, my moon, and my sun sign are all water, and Neptunian based. I have a very Neptunian chart, which for some people is the dreamer. Well, actually, the dreams get you somewhere if you just let them go and let them see where you take the journey. And Grant Louis said the Piscean is the one star sign that could make dreams come true.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah. Very nice. So and how about if you were triple earth? What would you be?
Well, you'd be very grounded and practical, but you could have an overtone of water. You could have an overtone of fire, depending on your soul's needs. Yeah, but also, well, I'm double Piscean with Scorpio rising, so with astrology, you look at nodes too. Nodes are really important. South nodes, what you come in with. Well, I've got a Pisces South node, so I'm predominantly Piscean and Neptunian. And, I have Scorpio and Neptune in the 12th house as well, which in astrology adds to that flavour. And a grand trine in all the water signs, so it's easy. It's like breathing.
Who you are.
Yeah, I don't know any different.
Confusion.
And that's the thing.
And did you find that growing up, there was never a confusion for yourself about who you were?
No.
Maybe others, but not yourself of yourself.
I had total illusion about the outside world, thinking that everyone thought like I did. Yeah. Surely they do.
Yeah, everyone knows who they are.
Well, I don't know. Then I had to step back and comprehend that there was another layer of stuff that I didn't. even though I felt differently, I felt, anger from them. I felt, torment from them. They just how they wanted to play. It was like a game to me. They were playing this game that I could see so clearly and they couldn't see. It's like looking at the world and, well, this is going on. Why? And so I had to learn all that.
Yeah.
And
they often say that with Pisces energy is that it's not about learning how to be in greater spirit. It's about learning how to be on this earth.
Yeah, it is. It's learning
which is
to be
kind of
earth.
A paradox given it's such a high spiritual area. And how about triple air? What would you see? What characteristics would you see with triple
mental
air?
Stimulation and communication and, being able to even see the things that aren't there in the sense of are there, but they're in the air, but it is communication predominantly.
Right. And
connection.
Triple fire?
It's direction.
Right.
So, very directed, all your fire signs, and very, know where they're going. Yeah, it's like an impulse.
Yeah.
It's like all fire, when people say, they're all fired up about something,
it's
like,
big
they're
time.
fired up.
And it's quite interesting with numerology and astrology because it is our blueprint. It is who we are.
Oh, it is,
and
definitely.
So to deny yourself who you are, well, I suppose a lot of people spend their life doing that.
Yeah.
But, we're at a stage in this Aquarian time, and why would you? I was talking to this fella I just met at this, I don't even know where we were. He was with his wife, that's right, we were at a party. And he was saying, this certain behaviour, it makes me really sick. And the doctor said, if I don't do this, then, I'm going to die earlier than not. And I said to him, I said, so you're still doing that behaviour? And he looked at me like in a state of disbelief of like, I'm about to say I am, but what the fuck? What was I thinking? He had that realisation at that moment in time.
Moment.
That's right, and yet he still answered the programmed answer of yes, I am.
Yeah.
But there was a bit of bewilderment in his eyes, and it was really interesting to watch, eh? Yeah, fascinating.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, okay, go on, hit me with a question. Go on.
What
are you going to hit me with?
Yeah, so, tell us about your journey, how you came into your modality of healing and spirituality. Do you feel you were, aware of it when you were young, or were you?
No.
Some people play out just for this sort of thing. Some people play out different things within their psyche to experience but get to the same goal as someone else.
That's right.
But be their flavour.
Yeah.
So,
there we go. Well, that's it.
Yeah, so what's your flavour?
Well, I didn't get into it until I reckon I was in my early 30s, but not really till when I turned 40.
Oh, wow.
Single mum, 4 kids, 3 kids for a while and then 4. And it was like I didn't have time to think of anything except for feed, wash, clean, entertain, spend quality time. It's just survival. It's just living.
Autopilot.
Yeah. So as the kids got older and the requirement on me was less, I hit a big pivot point in my life, and I lost 3 men in 1 week, and it made me actually stop short and have a look around me and go, oh, what the fuck? What's this life?
Wow.
If it can go like that. If 3 important people can go in 1 week, there's a big message here, and so it brought me up short, and that's when I really delved into spirituality.
Nice.
Because I realised that I'd never questioned life or anything about it. I was just doing my thing and loving it.
Wow.
My Aries energy, Aries moon, just wants to do. The warrior woman's busy. She wants to act. Doesn't want to sit around talking about stuff. And so at 40 it hit me that all of a sudden I'd discovered there was a whole other layer I'd never looked at. But I always had intuition, and I always trusted myself. I shouldn't say always. The majority of my life I trusted myself. And I put myself in some situations where other people would go, that was stupid, but I knew I was okay.
Yeah.
There was a deep knowing. Yeah, so I always had the intuition, and I could always read people, like to the level that wasn't embarrassing, but I had to learn to keep my mouth shut because I didn't realise, like you, I didn't realise I had this gift until I got pulled up once for it, And I was, it was at home. One of my oldest son's friends was living with us, and I was next to him in the kitchen, and I thought he'd said aloud what he said, and so I answered him, and that happened a bit until he brought me up on it, and I realised that we weren't talking in physical, and that's when I realised. So, and that again was in my 40s. Early 40s. So I loved Buddhism. Buddhism just made so much sense. I came across that at the end of my 20s, and just through a friend who was really heavily into Buddhism and Kung Fu.
Nice.
And so I've always, if anyone ever said you have to choose a religion, I've always chosen Buddhism, not as a religion, but as a set of values and morals that I really love living by.
Isn't it classified a way of life, not actually a
Yeah,
religion?
yeah. Buddha never wanted to be a deity or have any kind of.
It's about living your
That's
life,
right.
like by a set of guidelines, moralistic guidelines that sit well with the soul.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting with this new energy we're moving into, not only with Uranus in Taurus, but also with the moving into this Aquarian energy and all the different other timelines that are coming into being, with the Kali Yuga finishing in 5 years
there's a lot
and
of
going
connections.
into transition for 450 years. You know, we're coming to this time where I'm finding myself that the way I see things is more who I am and less in touch with how it is out in the society, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I totally get you. I have the same thing. I know totally who I am. But when I go out there, I also am observing it because I said to you, my role is different. It's to actually help people see past that, you know. But it's also that acceptance that, wow, it's actually much better when you're out on the outside observing it than being caught up in any of it, watching situations unfold around you and going, well, you know, oh, well, okay, I choose to detach from that.
Yeah.
And putting your hands up when you need to and go, not my problem.
That's right.
You know, and that's self-love and that's self-preserving. And also this experience, I act when I'm needed, when Spirit tells me I'm needed. And, you know, it's all, and I enjoy it, but I definitely like to be on my own and away from it.
Yeah.
But if I'm in it, then there's no reason why I can't be a voice. You know, it's like going into the library and then telling me you have to do track and trace, you know. And me speaking up in front of quite a few people very loudly that the government have no legal right to actually track and trace me. Yeah, I choose not to be, and that I was a sovereign being, thank you, you know, and leaving. You know, sometimes I'm meant to speak out, and I know that in certain circumstances, you know, and it's like, okay, you know. And I had, you know, like for me, coming off your track, I mean, I had certain epiphanies always along my journey, major ones. You know, really trippy experiences that, you know, you can only write about, you don't talk about. Yeah. So, you know, that it's like you can't come back from that. You can't unsee those experiences. They just are, and they're truthful to the soul because the soul knows the truth of it. And you just go, okay, righto.
I mean, they're quite pinnacle in life, really, and I'm sure everyone out there listening has, you know, has them as well, because we all do.
Yeah.
You know, but an epiphany is quite an interesting situation to be in, because you're sitting there and then all of a sudden everything's shifted. It's almost like when you get that electric shock off the electric fence and you feel every bone in your body move.
Yeah.
It's like that kind of thing where you just defragment and fragment again.
Yeah.
You know, it's quite an amazing experience when you've got the time to stop and enjoy it. I mean, a lot of people don't realise until in hindsight that something's changed. You know, their mate might say, oh, you're looking different, or, you know, you're a lot happier, or you're a bit down, or, you know.
I noticed when around 28, right through, that's when I really skyrocketed with all my stuff, because I just had shamanic journeys as well in between that were just like, oh, okay, you know, this is another step. But it was a doorway that, as with my energetic Piscean nature, Neptunian, it's like, oh, this is great. This is like party for me. It's like to live my fantasy through the spiritual realm.
Sure.
So I always saw it as fun to me. But also being very serious and moral about it.
Yep.
Morality to me is very much a key as a reader. You know, it doesn't matter who you're dealing with. You know, nobody's less than anyone else that comes in front of you, but you get people like that all the time.
Sure.
And, you know, and I'm not really into pampering people's ego, but just allowing them to learn to love themselves and embrace who they are. You know, everyone has a purpose.
That's right.
And I also...
And what would you say? I know we've kind of touched on it anyway, but to clearly say it out loud, what would you say your purpose of your soul is in this journey that you're on?
Exactly what I've done. To
tell people that don't know what, you know.
I'm a tarot reader. I've been doing that since I was 23. I'm now
a bit older than that.
Yeah. Let's leave that at
that.
Yeah. So I've been doing it for about 35 years, and I started doing astrology. So I started tarot at 23. About 28, I did start doing astrology. Yeah, and it's saying to me. And I just went down the rabbit hole with that. And about, maybe in my late 30s, I started dabbling with the numerology, but really became passionate in no time with the numerology. It just.
You got any authors while we're at that point that you'd recommend?
David Phillips, Discovering Your Inner Self.
That's a great one.
It's a really good first starter's book.
Yep.
And then you can go from there. But it's all Pythagoras. It's pretty simple.
Yep.
He's laid out the book very well, which is helpful.
Yes, he has. Yeah, it's really easy. Good reference book for future time as well.
Mine is actually falling apart.
Yeah, so and for those more experienced numerologists, who have you come across that you've had great joy and learnings from?
Well, if you bear with me 2 seconds.
While she does that, okay, we'll have a little chat. Okay, so as you guys have probably realised, that part of my role now is that I'll be going on the road and interviewing people. And so if there's anyone out there who feels like they've got something to say, a rabbit hole to take us down, get in touch with me. You can get me on email. You can get me through this webpage that we're going to be we'll be pinning this up on. But meanwhile, ganya.com.au. So you can get us through that. Ganya on the road. That's our webpage. ganya.com.au. GUNYA.